Why? And Elizabeth, welcome back to the X Zone. Good talking to you, dear friend.
Oh, thank you very much. I've been going through a little bit lately. You know, you just said 26 years, right?
Yep,
I was one of the first people that was on your show.
that's right. You
I
were.
remember when you called me from Canada and I lived in Mulholland, New Jersey, and you asked if I'd go on your new show, and I did.
Yep, that was 20. I'm sorry, I stand corrected.
1991 it was.
Yeah, 1991. That's right. So these are horrible times, Elizabeth. You, as a very intuitive and tuned person, must be playing havoc on you, my dear.
It is. It is. We are really at a crossroads with humanity, and nobody is listening. They are staying in their houses, going through their daily routines, and we are being split as a nation. We're not being split as a nation because of the presidential election. We're being split as a nation from one word. You know what it is, Rob? Water.
Water.
Water. Do you remember when I was on your show in the early 90s, I talked about a split America and that the Great Lakes were going
Yes, I do.
to go down to New Orleans?
Yes, I do.
Welcome to the club. This has been very disturbing. The rain will not stop. I know they say they're hoping for a reprieve. 31 inches. Did you hear that the governor's mansion in Louisiana was totally flooded out?
No, I didn't hear that.
And of course, a lot of it has to do with the construction, with people building in flood zones. You're finding that in Iowa, you're finding that in Indiana, you're finding that in Ohio. But still, that Mississippi and Missouri River are coming together. Edgar Cayce predicted it back in the 30s and 40s. He predicted that this was going to happen, but I predicted it myself before I had even heard of Edgar Cayce. Because I didn't hear about Edgar Cayce until the 90s, after I was on your
Wow.
show the first time. But I went back and found a newspaper article that I wrote in 1981, and that's what I said.
So, what in your opinion? Why is all this flooding happening?
I wish I knew. I mean, I can tell you why it's happening geographically. There's some kind of a cold front and warm front that have hit each other, and they've become stagnant. But I also, I mean, I don't know really what you think of the divine, or if you think that any of this is destiny, but part of me does. Part of me does, because we have been so foolish with this earth. We have treated this earth so poorly.
Yeah.
We've raped it. And it's got to adjust itself. We're at a turning point in humanity, and we are going to go through turbulence through the end of September. And we are going to have will be good in the long run, but you know, it's awfully hard to, it's hard to go through change. It's hard to lose everything you have. And when you lose your home, you lose everything you have. Every memory, just everything. It's horrible. And I don't care whether you're rich or poor. I don't care who you are. To lose your home is emotional tribulation. Don't you agree, Rob?
I certainly do. I certainly do agree. And I've often wondered if what we're seeing is actually part of the great tribulation that has been prophesied.
I think it is.
Yeah.
It definitely is.
And yet, you know, Elizabeth, I'm talking to more and more people who are experiencing a spiritual awakening, a spiritual recognition.
It's very important that you do.
Yeah.
We are going through a critical change worldwide. And we have these crises are going to change the course of the world. People are going to change opinions. The truth is going to come out. Look at the truth. You talk about Roger Ailes. I knew about Roger Ailes 30 years ago. You know how I knew about Roger Ailes?
You worked in the industry, and he probably hit on you.
No, he never did, because I never saw him. But he knows my husband. I was cleaning it up. The girls would come to me for healing, emotional healing.
Wow.
I'm a licensed minister and I
Mhm.
do spiritual counseling. And I lived in Mallwall, Ramsey, Franklin Lakes, Ridgewood, New Jersey. And that's where the people, CNBC, which was a station I was on very often in the 90s,
Mhm.
he ran it. He was head of it. He went to college with my husband at Ohio University. So the truth comes out. Everything is heating up to a boiling point. And the election, of course, is making people crazy, but it's gone worse than that now. And I wrote something about Donald Trump in June. I want to read it to you.
Sure, go right ahead.
Donald Trump is a monkey riding a wolf and making funny faces to a tiger that's crawling behind them. Now, the tiger was his manager, the man that was in bed with Putin. He is in bed with Putin. And I told people that want Trump for president that if he became president, the first thing Putin would do would be to go into Europe and take it over. He would take back all the countries that they lost. This is big. This is not something very small.
Yeah, you know what? Looking at the political situation in the United States, it's, who's the lesser of the evil? You've got the Clintons, who are as crooked as dog hind legs. They've been laundering money. Her money has kept her out of prison so far. Bill Clinton is nothing but a scum bucket.
I was on your show sometime in June, and I told you my sentence, remember? The next president of the United States is not running at this time.
Mm-hmm.
I still believe it. I remember saying that on your show.
But there are still people who believe that President Obama somehow will stay in power.
Well, I mean, if this keeps up and we go into rioting and martial law, I don't know what could happen. There could be a coup.
Mm-hmm.
There could be things that happen to try to. I know it's going to get worse. I know we're in turbulence. I'm not seeing that. I am seeing those people being removed.
Right.
As a matter of fact, I'm going to give you a date. It's August 23rd. Now, this freaked me out. I told a friend that I had a dream that Donald Trump was shot on August 23rd.
Wow.
Today in the news, they reported how many people have threatened his life and how they have to triple up security. And I got the chills because we're going into the end of August. And the thing that's scaring me, Rob, is that I'm hearing these things and I'm usually right. And that I don't like. When you get this and you can't do anything about it, it's very, very hard. But I do think we're heating up to a boiling point. And I do think that there's going to be some kind of problems around the election. And I do think that someone is going to come to power and that it's going to create an enormous change in politics. But it doesn't mean that it's Donald Trump.
Yeah, looking at not only the political arena in the United States, but look what's happening in Milwaukee, for God's sake. Here you've got a policeman who had a righteous shooting. The guy had a gun. The cop did what every cop should do. Hey, you don't put the gun down. You just, protect your life.
Happens every day.
Right. If it would have been a white guy that got killed, there'd be no rioting. And yet, because it's a black person, they believe that they have the right to cause all this chaos, all these crimes, break the law. Black Lives Matter. God to hell with Black Lives Matter, White Lives Matter. All lives matter.
That's right. I wrote a blog on PBS Radio about Black Lives Matter, and all lives do matter. And
Exactly.
the unfortunate part about it is that neither one is giving the other one respect. And most of the people in the United States that are in prison are black.
Well,
that's history.
What's the reason behind it? Is it a sociological
Yeah, I think
problem.
it's money. I think that white people get off. I think that if you had a black person and a white person in college
Hmm.
and both of them committed rape, this is an example, the black person would be crucified and the white person would have daddy pay it off.
Only if the name was Clinton.
No, other names too.
Yeah. Oh, as you can tell, Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton are not two of my favorite people. I believe that they're buying this election. I
Yes,
believe,
I think there's many, many people that
yeah.
feel the same way.
You know,
But
look at, she got off from Benghazi. She got off with the emails. No matter what proof is brought before the Attorney General, who was in Bill Clinton's pocket, nothing happens to Hillary.
I can tell you something worse than that, but I don't know if I should do it on the air. Um, so yes, I do know about her, and I do know about many, many crimes that
Yeah.
she has certainly been accused of. And where there's heat, there's fire. Isn't that true?
Exactly.
Maybe she didn't do every one of them, but she certainly did a lot.
Yeah.
And one of the most disappointing things I saw was when she sat in Congress and said, "What does it matter now?" That blew me away. Did you see that?
I
TV?
did. Yeah, I did. I was watching those congressional hearings because I really thought that something good would come out of that. And all that came out of it was that you just can't budge her. For some reason, you just can't budge her. And then you follow the money. You look at Whitewater, for goodness sake.
Oh, I want to tell you something funnier than that. There was a video put on YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
filmed in 2002. Are you ready for this? And
Yeah.
Hillary Clinton said, "Well, we should build a wall between America and
I
Mexico."
saw you told us about that the last time you were on the
I was
show.
on- Didn't I send you a link? I think I
Yes.
sent you a
Yes,
link.
you did. Yes, you
I
did.
just cracked up.
Yeah. You know, like, and then you've got the pontiff saying that you should not have a wall between countries, and yet there's a wall around the Vatican.
That's true.
You know, like, come on. I still say dissolve all the churches, give the money to the poor, feed the hungry, do what you're supposed to do. Maybe it's time that we just got rid of religion, period.
Well, I think we're going to have some scary times. I don't think they're going to be in America, but I do think two things are coming. I think that Korea,
Mhm.
North Korea is going to fight South Korea, and there's going to be a nuclear exchange over there.
Yeah.
And I think that something's happening around Nepal where Pakistan, China, and India have a skirmish. I think those two places is where the most danger of nuclear exchange is at this point.
You know, last night, Laura and I were watching a movie, and the name of it was a documentary done by HBO. And it was about this Pakistani girl who did something that her brother and her father, or her uncle and her father was involved, thought that this would bring shame onto the family. So they took her down to the river and shot her.
Oh, sure they do.
And then they threw her in the river, but thank God they didn't kill her. She ended up going to a garage for help. The police were called. The father and the uncle were arrested, but until they were arrested, she was under police protection. And did you know that according to the law in Pakistan, which I believe is based on the Quran, that
That would be fine.
it was fine because the family and the neighbors put so much pressure on the girl that in court in Pakistan, if she forgives them, all charges are dropped.
Do you know how hard we have had to fight as women, Rob? Because women were chattel. Women were people's property just as much as slaves were.
Ugh.
So we have had to, and we're still doing the fight.
Mhm.
At least this country and Canada as well, I believe, and England have honored women more than other places.
Well, you show me a country who doesn't honor a woman, and I will show you a country that will end up in disaster.
It's called Africa.
Yeah. Well, look at them.
I know.
Yeah.
And you were talking about paying for pods to listen to.
Yeah.
Coast to Coast has you pay for the pods. That you have to have a membership to listen to that. I just thought I'd mention that.
Oh, I know that. I know that. You
Okay,
know,
so I'm being a naughty girl and saying names.
yeah. No, if they want to do that, let them. If they need to get money off of their listeners, let them do it.
Well, I think we're in for some bumpy rides more than we've had now.
Hmm.
Starting with this full moon on Thursday and going right through the end of November, and the most uncomfortable month will be October.
You're
And
this.
I do think that there
Mhm.
could be a threat at the poll places because Mr. Trump is saying if he doesn't win, it's because of fixed
Yeah.
voting. And a lot of the good people, people that care about honesty, are really saying that's not true. We do everything we can not to have that. And I think they're right, except for maybe
Well,
in some.
when it comes to computerized, I agree with Trump that there should be ID at the voting polls. Here in Canada, when we
That's
go,
fine, but I'm talking about voter fraud where they say that the machines are
well,
fixed.
not only the machines, they did a survey and there was 1.8 million people on the electoral list last time that were dead.
Right, I do remember hearing that.
You know,
People
so
voted twice. People went and voted twice.
not only voted twice, but more than that, you've got 1 point something million people who are legally dead. How in the name of heaven did they end up on the on the voting
I
roster?
think that when that report came out, they said that most of them were the absentee votes.
No, no, no. I watched it. It was on the news again today.
Okay, well, that's
Yeah.
not the one I saw. I saw the one about the absentee votes.
No, these were people who were dead, but yet were on the electoral list.
Huh.
You know, so I listen. When it comes to politics, the name, you know, if you look, if I was to do the dictionary, and if beside the word politics, it would be crooked lines, because I don't think there is an honest politician out there.
Oh no, I
Yeah.
know. They start out that way. That girl in Pennsylvania that
Mhm.
was the head prosecutor just got found guilty, and she still won't resign. I don't understand that. But it's getting very scary. It's not only in politics now; it's in the film industry. It's in the running of big businesses. And what's happening with our children, Rob? What's going on? We had in this state we had 21 deaths of babies
Mhm.
under 15 months old because the parents left them in the car.
Well, that
In
you know
this
that just drives me crazy.
People wants to know
Yeah.
why. Well, because we don't have. It's called poor parenting.
And then you've got these kids and adults who are using their iPhones for this Pokemon crap.
I don't know what that's about, but I do know it's getting bad. But the worst thing is
Hmm.
the animals. The animals must know that something's going on. We have alligators eating a 2-year-old.
Yeah, I read.
Lion, a girl was saved from the jaws of a cougar or
Mhm.
a lion.
Yeah.
And then those kids fell off that ride, that roller coaster ride, that water roller coaster
Yeah.
ride. And to me, that's saying between that and the rain, it's saying that there is something going on that's way beyond what we can control or think of.
These are very strange and trying times. And when people don't heed the warnings, if they don't see and understand that something is awry, I feel very sorry for them. Like, you know, everybody is too busy looking at their smartphones, looking at their iPads, playing these stupid video games because they can't get a
And
life any other way.
when you tell people you're the bad guy,
Hmm.
I was with mother, my 2 weeks this year,
Yes.
and I was in Washington D.C. and these two teenagers were waiting for the elevator and they were
Hmm.
doing click 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 on their phones, not even looking up, and the door's open
Right.
and there are people inside the elevator. Well, these two kids rushed right in, and I went in after them, not knowing that there were two people in the elevator. So I kind of stepped in front of the kids and let the others off. And when the doors closed, I looked at those kids. I said, "Put those phones down a minute and let me teach you something." I said, "You are boys. You need to learn how to ride an elevator. You hold the door and always let the other people out first.
That's right.
Always. And then you go in. And I hope that you learned that today." And they looked at me like I was the crazy lady down the block.
what can I tell you, dear? This world is crazy. It's going to hell in a handbasket. We are getting dumbed down by technology.
Right. Oh, there's so much technology. We have to slow it down, Rob. How can we slow it down? It's going way too fast. I still think that half of us that grew up in the generation that you and I did,
in the good old days,
are still in shock over being able to send an email or watch a video on the computer. I think that we need more time to adjust before we get any more technology. No, that's another thing I saw. I saw a drone go into one of the cities, and there was an explosion. I saw that.
It's all is possible. And what I think, what is going to happen, and I'm not a psychic, and I don't profess to be a psychic, but I am going to tell you what I believe is going to happen, that we are going to experience a large solar flare that is going to knock out the electrical grid. And then people are going to realize how technology has dumbed them down and taken away their ability to survive without technology.
They won't know what to do. They won't know what to do. They'll get out a gun and go rob a house. But let me tell you something that's funny, because I said that today. I was hearing about Louisiana, and they said that the people don't want to leave their homes until they lose their electric, and then they do want to leave. And I laughed, because I was brought up where there was an outhouse.
Yep.
You learned how to build a fire, and you could build a fire with 2 sticks.
That's because
you went out in the morning at 5 o'clock, and you went fishing, and you caught your breakfast.
That's because you were taught how to think.
Yes, I think I was, and I learned how to take the bones out of a fish and how to cook it for breakfast on an open fire, and I learned how to brew coffee on the fire. I had to learn that, Rob.
All right, I've got to take my break at the bottom of the hour. Please stand by. X-Zone Nation, our very special guest this hour is Elizabeth Joyce. Elizabeth, tell the people your website and how they can contact you for a one-on-one consultation.
Sure. The website is www.new-visions.com. And I have a 24-hour answering service. The number is 201-934-8986.
And Elizabeth Joyce and I will be back on the other side of this break as we continue here in the X-Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. My name is Rob McConnell. Don't go away.
You're listening to the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. Radio's authority on the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology. Celebrating 25 years of broadcasting. Broadcasting around the world and to the great beyond.
Here's some of the stories trending this week at NASA. 2 of the NASA astronauts training for the first flight tests for the agency's Commercial Crew program visited with employees during an August 11th event at Kennedy Space Center. Astronauts Eric Bowe and Sonny Williams, alongside Commercial Crew Program Manager Kathy Loiters, responded to questions during a panel discussion moderated by Kennedy Director Robert Cabana. NASA has contracted with Boeing and SpaceX to develop crew transportation systems and provide crew transportation services to and from the International Space Station. The agency will select the commercial crew astronauts from the group that includes Bowe, Williams, Bob Behnken, and Doug Hurley. The first flight tests are targeted for next year. On August 9th, pilots from NASA partner H211 LLC flew through plumes of smoke from the Soberanes wildfire near Carmel, California, to measure and study the effects of ozone and greenhouse gases from the fires on air quality in that region. The flight was part of the Alpha Jet Atmospheric Experiment, or AJAX project, based at NASA's Ames Research Center in Silicon Valley. The flight was the 197th AJAX mission in the past 5 years, using NASA-developed sensors and equipment to make measurements of the atmosphere. NASA invited the media to learn about the Cyclone Global Navigation Satellite System Hurricane mission during an August 11th event at the Southwest Research Institute in San Antonio, Texas. Cygnus, which is scheduled to launch November 21st from Cape Canaveral Air Force Station in Florida, is a constellation of 8 microsatellites that will gather never-before-seen details on the formation and intensity of tropical cyclones and hurricanes, helping to improve hurricane track, intensity, and storm surge forecasts. On August 10th at NASA headquarters, young research professionals discussed projects that use NASA Earth observations and modeling to address a range of environmental issues around the globe. The talks, panel discussions, and poster session were featured as part of NASA's Develop program, a nationwide training and development effort sponsored by the agency's Earth Science Applied Sciences program. Develop bridges the gap between NASA Earth science and society by helping prepare program participants and partner organizations to address environmental challenges faced by current society and future generations. NASA hosted a Mission STEM Summit August 8th and 9th at the agency's headquarters in Washington. The event brought together NASA and other government experts, students from grantee institutions, federal and grantee civil rights compliance officials, academia, industry, and professional organizations. The experts in civil rights compliance and education discussed best practices for ensuring equal opportunity in science, technology, engineering, and math, and they exchanged ideas for tackling the challenges faced by grantee institutions and compliance officials. The summit was designed to advance NASA's civil rights technical assistance efforts relating to STEM. And that's what's up this week at NASA. For more on these and other stories, follow us on social media and visit www.nasa.gov/twan.
Join High Tech with Corey K. weekly here on the X Zone Broadcast Network. From the world of computers to the ever-popular computerized gadgetry that are becoming part of our everyday life and living and society. From kids and their gaming devices, teens and their smartphones, to the applications of personal and business computers. From hardware to software, from standalone units to network computers. Join high-tech guru Corey K. weekly right here on the X Zone Broadcast Network as he takes on the topics that will be of use and great value to the international audience of the X Zone Broadcast Network. High Tech with Corey K. weekends at 9 p.m. Eastern, only on the X Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net.
While science pursues fact, magic accesses the quantum level, bridging random facts to form truth. As long as science and magic remain separate and polarized, the truth cannot be known. I'm Wilda Wiyaka. Join me on the Science of Magic radio program dedicated to unification and evolution of consciousness. During each episode, I'll be speaking with experienced and respected scientists and mystics. From astrologers to astronomers, from medical doctors to shaman, the scientific method to dowsing and intuition, we will weave together information from seemingly divergent practices to promote unity and enlightenment. Join me, Wilda Wiyaka, and the Science of Magic right here on the X Zone Broadcast Network. For more information, visit www.thescienceofmagic.net.
Coming soon to the X Zone Broadcast Network is A Different Perspective with me, Kevin Randall, as your host. We'll be taking a close look at what is happening in the world of UFOs today with side trips into the paranormal. Guests will range from those who are household names to those who have a different perspective on a variety of topics. No topic will be taboo, but there will be tough questions asked as we all search for the truth about UFOs, the paranormal, and those things that excite us. Sometimes we'll agree with a guest and sometimes we won't, but we'll try to keep the program topical. For those of you who would like to read, be sure to visit www.kevinrandall.blogspot.com and remember to listen to the other fine programs on the X Zone Broadcast Network at www.xzbn.net.
Welcome back, everyone. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, on the X Zone Broadcast Network and on Talk Stream Live. Elizabeth Joyce is my guest this hour. And Elizabeth, one of the shows you and I did was about how people can take your energy, like psychic vampires.
Oh, yes, psychic attack.
Psychic attack. Are more and more people reporting psychic attacks to you these days?
They're reporting something, Rob, and I do think, yes, that's true. We are being able to pick up on other people's thoughts about us more clearly because we're all growing in our spiritual awareness, whether you use it for the higher levels or the lower levels. As a matter of fact, when we talked about the animals with the children, I think the animals are picking up on some things.
Mm-hmm. You were saying that before, and
but anyway, we do mentally know when somebody's saying, "Oh, I hate him. I can't be around him." You know how you feel when you go in a room. You either feel at ease, or something gives you your hair stands up on end, or you feel uncomfortable, or you might begin to feel a bit nauseous, and that is a sign that you're in negative energy.
So with all this negative energy that we're seeing and experiencing, is this all part of another book you wrote about the ascension?
The Psychic Attack book was my first book, and I told you I wrote that book because I had gone to court and helped 4 or 5 people get their money back, and we're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Wow.
And I was helpful, and most of them won and got their money returned. And, I mean, there was a couple of gypsy bands where the head of the gypsy clan had to come in and bring the money in cash and put it on the judge's desk. It was really interesting. Then I wrote another one about ascension, which is really a book of hope. It's a book of promise. It's a book of hope and inspiration. It's called Ascension, Accessing the Fifth Dimension. And as far as I'm concerned, we have to have destruction before we can have reconstruction. Part of what's happening now is that the old is being erased. The old is being wiped out. And that's good. It's painful. People get angry. We have a lot of anger going on, uncontrolled anger, because people don't control their anger. They always have to be right, and they can't say the 2 words, Rob. I'm sorry. I was wrong. I'm sorry. But sometimes I hear too much of I'm sorry, and it's repeated as a mantra that's senseless. I can always tell when a person is sorry or when they're not sorry, and they're just saying it.
So how should somebody who is sensitive to what is going on in the world on the spiritual basis, how should they prepare themselves? How can they protect themselves for what's coming up?
We have to join together. You really start to have to drop judgments, and you have to start trusting the universe. Prayer is one thing and meditation is another. Although I don't have the answer of what we should do about all these refugees that are going into other countries, I will say that most of them are simply looking for some comfort. And why should we have people starving to death in one part and sitting in castles on the mountain on the other part? We need to have more balance, and that doesn't make me a liberal. It doesn't make me anything but a caring person.
I agree to a certain extent.
And to a certain extent, and it is, and it's got to be by choice.
Yeah.
You know, when we had the churches going, everybody was giving tithing and to churches, and then we all found out that was being as much robbed and defiled as the government. So the way that I work it is I do it on an individual level. When I see a person, for example, I had a girl that was in my women's group that wanted to go back to college. She was only a half a semester away from her bachelor.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
Didn't know what to do, had fallen onto hard times, and I paid for her. I paid for her to finish.
Wow.
I said, you will finish. And she paid me every dime back when she got out. She was responsible, and we're still very close friends. And that's what we need to do. We need to help to uplift people, not push them down. Circumstances can happen to anybody. If you don't believe me, look at Louisiana. And that doesn't make the person irresponsible. The people that are being flooded out aren't responsible,
right.
But they've lost everything. They have to start again. And we have to love them enough to make room for them and support them. Because but for the grace of God, go I.
So we've got about 15 minutes left. I was wondering if you could tell us about the predictions or what you see in the near future.
Well, yes, I can. I think we're going to have 4 good years before the bad years come. We're going to go through 2020 and struggle along and do the best we can. When we get to 2020, we're going to be in trouble because they haven't cleaned up the planet, and the air is going to get so bad that we won't be able to breathe outside in sections of the country. And I've been telling everybody to get rid of their seaside homes and to get out of Florida. I said to get out of Houston, and I say to get out of San Diego. Look what's happening in Houston. Get out and go up. And the Canadian border is going to be the best place to get property. The state of Washington, and New Hampshire, Vermont, Maine, they're going to become prime property, as well as Washington and Oregon. And I'm sure that we have Vancouver and Toronto, because Toronto's on the other side of the Great Lakes. So you're not going to have the problem. You're just going to watch it.
Well, you see, here in Hamilton, we're close to Toronto, but we're also very close to being in between Lake Erie and Lake Ontario.
Are they above you?
Well, Lake Ontario would be to the east of us. To the east of us, and Lake Erie is to the west of us.
Okay, but if they're going to empty down.
Oh, yeah, I see. No, that won't affect us then.
I did. Well, it may affect you in some way, but the St. Lawrence River is a very good place. Montreal is safe, and things that are high. I don't want to go to cold country. You don't want to go to cold country? Fine, stay where you are. Yeah. You want to drown? You can drown. But you have to move up. You have to let go of what you like and prefer and warm weather and the beach, because the ocean is going to come in 20 miles. And it is. And that's going to happen. And it's been happening. And we've lost the beaches. You know that. And Australia as much as we. And look what's happening in Greenland. It's happening all over. So I'm not just talking through my hat.
Yeah. But
I see it, and I wish I could stop it.
Are you finding that people are coming to you and that their focus has changed when they're asking you for your advice? Is the focus changing from my love life, my money, my job?
Not yet.
Not yet, eh?
Not too many, but I'll tell you, they're getting mad at me. They get mad at me because I don't tell them what they want to hear. I don't support them. What I do see people are doing what they want to do without regard to consequences. And when I try to tell them that they have to follow natural law and spiritual law, they get mad at me. Well, my other psychic said that I could have that married man and break up his family, that he was going to come to me. Yeah. I've had a few of them. But I had one guy that has about 20 girlfriends, can't decide on which one to marry, so dates them all and promises all he's going to marry them. What do you think I said to him? And he's in his 50s and he's never married. So it's crazy stuff like that. It's things I haven't heard before. Let me just say that to you. And people are changing, and they don't know how to cope with what they need to do, because nobody has any goals. They don't have any basis. Back when we grew up, Rob, we were given values. We were given that family comes first. We were given harmonious family life, that you sit at the table at least once a week and share. And if you don't like what your sister's doing, it's okay. You have to work with it, work it out.
That's right.
But they don't have that anymore. We don't even have family dinners anymore.
And you know what? This is what I see as a big problem, the breaking down of the family unit.
Yep.
You know, even when they go out to restaurants, and you and I have discussed this before, where they bring their iPads and everybody starts texting everybody else except who's at the table.
Well, it's too funny. I have a friend that owns a restaurant in New York. He gets $100 a plate.
Mm-hmm.
And he said he's given up the rose and the candle on the table because they sit there. They don't even talk to each other. They text.
Unreal.
And they'll answer their phone in a restaurant when they're having dinner with somebody. Crazy. Nobody. What is it? What is it about these cell phones that everybody is so addicted to them that they haven't learned that it's okay not to answer the phone? I learned that a long time ago. I learned that through Louise Hay. You don't have to answer the phone if you're uncomfortable, if you may not like who's calling, or you may not have the energy to talk very, very well right at that moment, or you're occupied, focused on your project. You don't have to answer the phone. You can always call back. But you can't say that to these kids. There's a compulsion. They'll try not to do it, but they have to do it. And I see it. I wonder if there's any energy coming out of the phone affecting the kids.
Oh, yes, it does, because we all know for a fact that microwaves have been proven to be hazardous to your health. In fact, doctors will tell you, don't put the cell phone to the side of your head. Use the buds with the microphone. Keep it away from your head. And yet people let their kids put the cell phones right to the side of their heads. Look at, there are even cars now that have a hub built right into the vehicle so that people can use their cell phones, their Wi-Fi. It basically has a Wi-Fi built into the vehicle. To me, that's just turning your car into a microwave oven.
Oh, now you can unlock your front door as you're coming around the corner.
Like, how lazy are we getting? You know, technology.
That is lazy. I think that's pretty bad. But I think that we are all also looking for a savior, and that we are looking through a savior through something called fear. Rob, when we're doing that, we're not going to pick the right person.
And, you know, as I've said to many people, you know, if you're expecting the second coming of Jesus Christ or the extraterrestrials to come and save you, you're going to wait a long time, because if you cannot be part of the solution, you're going to be part of the problem, and that is going to be your downfall.
Well, what we need to do, and I wish that the police and fire people could start training people on how to survive if we lose the grid. We have to have communities that are going to depend on each other. We have to build trust, just like you do in a family. Yeah, and I'm talking about a healthy family, not a, you know, we have to build trust. We have to come together. We have to plan. And let's say that I had a lot of property and I had a big barn and I started storing grain and foods. Well, how would I be able to share that with my community if I didn't have good rapport with them? What good would it do? And the prejudices and the judgments, people go in and they want to tear somebody else apart. And you find that out all the time with the kids being harassed and with what people are saying online. It's terrible. We have to change. We have to have a conscious role, a thought system that is for the good of all concerned. And that's what we need to do. We have to have compassion, and we still have to be stable for ourselves, right, Rob?
Yes, we do. We truly do. But once again, I believe in my heart of hearts that if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. And I know that you go out each and every day and do your best to put positive changes on negative situations. I've known you that long, and I know that's the kind of lady you are.
But you know, Rob, whether you believe in God or not, you have to believe in creating space for new thoughts.
That's right. But you also, I see,
so that if you're worried and and you're not sleeping, you're getting sick. But if you can sit and just release it all and say, okay, I'm going to put this away from, maybe I'm going to go out and buy a popsicle or an ice cream cone, or I'm going to take my kid and go get a new dog. I'm going to do something different, something out of the norm, and break away from routine. When I come back, I'll come back with fresh eyes. And ask for guidance. Ask for your inner self to start bringing you guidance, because you'll get it.
But do we really need to look outside of the box for all the answers? Don't we have the answers within? And
Yes.
shouldn't we give ourselves more credit instead of looking for these, like I said, the second coming of
Savior, right?
a religious figure or to the extraterrestrials? The answers are in each and every one of us, because each and every one of us are interconnected.
Well, that's what I just said.
Yeah.
As long as you can sit and let it go
Yeah.
and relax and take some deep breaths, the
Mhm.
answers will come.
Yeah.
And we go through phases. We go through, I have downsides and upsides. I know when I'm in a slump, I
Mhm.
call it an energetic slump,
Yeah.
and I do everything I can to get out of it. But that's the way of the world, polarity.
Yeah.
And I know when it lifts. I can feel it lift and I can feel it come in. So now that I know about it and I'm used to it, if you read my book Ascension, it will give you a lot of wonderful tips and exercises that you can do to get yourself out of depression. It's important.
There are so many problems. There are
Yeah.
so many stresses. There are so many negative influences on people today that I believe it takes a special kind of person in order to succeed. Using a cell phone, using the smartphone, I believe that technology is purposely dumbing people down.
I know that it's called ideology. Remember, we were saying worshiping graven images. But if you take the iPhones away from the kids, they'll want to commit murder. And then I have to tell you this. This is really important about mothering. I had somebody call me about their 2-year-old daughter, and the only thing she'll eat is pizza and hot dogs. And you know what I said? How does a 2-year-old even know about pizza and hot dogs?
Well, it's easier for a parent to make a hot dog or call it for a pizza than it is to actually make the child a good meal.
I got absolute silence on the other end of the phone. Well, I'm so busy. I'm going to stop at McDonald's. And I think McDonald's is going out of business. I think that we're not going to have any fast food stores by the end of the teens, when we go into the 20s. McDonald's and Burger King are going to close up, and we're going to go more holistic.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
I don't know about that, because
Well, of course,
on.
we may have to be growing gardens, and they may not have the microwave ovens. If we lose
No, but
the
let's
grid.
look at it. This is a very lazy society we're
Yes, it
in.
is.
It's a drive-through society. Do you know that not only do you have drive-through coffee shops, drive-through dry cleaners, drive-through restaurants,
And
but now
banks.
drive-through banks, but now there's also drive-through funeral homes.
Oh, geez. Now they're going to have drive-through weddings.
Well, they've already got that in Las Vegas.
Well, what they do is they take your iPad and they let you watch the wedding on the iPad, and then you don't have to travel to the church.
Now, you see, that makes sense. You see,
Oh,
now,
okay.
to me, that makes sense, because if you've got, let's say, I have relatives in the United Kingdom that, for financial reasons, I can't get to, or my scheduling or whatever. At least I can see them. Do you know they're doing the same thing with funerals now as well?
Oh, jeez. Well, we don't have the work ethic, which is what I started to say before, about getting up and going to work, wanting to do well in your job, and feeling some kind of fulfillment in helping the company in some way. We don't have that anymore.
Well, well, there are those of us who do.
Yeah, there are, but it's not too many. That's not the general work ethic. You graduate college and you expect to be a millionaire in 6 months.
Oh, listen, I think that when people graduate college these days, they have less than a high school leaving certificate from our day.
Well, that could be true. They'll get them through. But it's going to get better. It's going to change. The values and the way people are thinking are going to change. And it may change through what appears as tragedy, but the consciousness has to be raised. The consciousness has to change. And we do have to understand what you said, Rob, that we are all one.
Yeah.
We are important. And what one person does affects everybody else.
That's what we need to get across to people. And
they just proved it scientifically that we all have an element in our DNA that is the same everywhere, in trees, in monkeys, in animals, and people. And we are responsible. You know, I know that my grandmother was a shaman, and I know a lot about animals. When I go outside, I've been feeding my birds regularly for about 5 years now, and I go out and they come and land on my shoulder.
That's because your birds like pizza and hot dogs.
No, they like the birdseed. I was kissed by a hummingbird. Who do you know that was kissed by a hummingbird? I felt that wing just touch my cheek.
I will tell you, I was doing a TV shoot in Niagara Falls going back, oh my gosh, 24, 25, 26, 27 years ago. Bobby Curtola was the host of the New Year's Eve at Niagara Falls, and I was the person who first came up with the Live from Victoria Park television program that is sent across Canada now. And we were doing a video roll of Bobby singing. What was he singing? I forget what he was singing, but we were shooting the segment in the hummingbird area. It's a beautiful enclosed greenhouse that has hummingbirds in it, and Bobby was at the part where he was just finishing it off, and a hummingbird came and kissed him on the lips.
Oh my goodness!
And flew away.
Huh.
So, you know, hummingbirds, birds, animals, you know, my God, they're all part of what we are. And when I see what people are doing to the dolphins, when I see what they're doing to the whales, how we're destroying the habitat of our animals that live up north, it's a crime. It's a crime. They're just not animals. They're part of us because we all share this little planet.
And we might be uncomfortable around a rhinoceros or whatever, but that doesn't mean that we have to harm them.
That's right.
And that's another thing. Just because somebody's different from you doesn't mean you have to harm them.
No,
and
but
just
you know
because
what?
somebody doesn't agree with you doesn't mean you have to use a swear word or harm them. And when you're online and you're playing cards and somebody makes a bad play, don't start swearing at them.
Hey, listen, we've got to say so long for now, Elizabeth. I want to thank you so much for joining us. Take care of yourself. I sent you the answer to your question that you sent me on Skype. So until the next time we meet, my dear friend, take care of yourself. And it's always great talking to you.
Thank you. And I promise I'll have better predictions next time.
All right, sweetie. Take care of yourself, Liz. Bye-bye. All right, Exo Nation. When we come back from the news at the top of the hour, Wilda Uyaka is going to join me. We're going to be talking about intention and how it can help you. This is a very strange edition of the X-Zone. But you know what? I'm getting a super feeling that we're making a lot of good changes. And people are looking at each other in a totally different way. My name's Rob McConnell. We'll be back on the other side of the news break. Don't go away.